Welcome. In this session, we will be talking about pitfalls supervisors want to avoid. In Psalm chapter 7 and verse 15, it says, "He made a pit and digged it, and has fallen into the ditch which he made." A pitfall is a hidden or not easily recognized danger or difficulty. Historically, pitfalls were a method for trapping animals or a wartime strategy used against enemy soldiers. However, sometimes a man made such a pit and covered it up so well that he fell into his own trap. Without realizing, it is possible for a supervisor to create pitfalls in the learning center that are hidden and whose danger is not easily recognized. Let me warn you of 10 such pitfalls so that you can avoid them. Let's begin with pitfall number 1. Understanding that it is about their learning. It is not about you. The philosophy of teaching is the premise of conventional education. There, the teacher is the sage on the stage and the fount of all knowledge. In that setting, one can actually believe that they are serving their students, but in reality, they are putting on a performance whose true goal is not to help the students learn, but to show how much the teacher knows. In contrast, the philosophy of learning is the core objective of the A.C.E. program. An A.C.E. educator's first responsibility is inspiring achievement, and it is important that we understand that it is not about us, it's about our students. We must be fully committed to the individualized philosophy of education. Students need to know more than just what they are learning. They also need to learn how to learn. As supervisors, we should be working ourselves out of a job. Skills like goal setting, being accountable, and taking ownership of their own learning are all skills that students must acquire in order to experience true success in life. Let's move on to pitfall number 2. Overloading students with gap paces when diagnostic tests reveal that they are weak in several paces below their performance level. If a student misses a concept found 2 levels or more below their performance level, prescribe a gap pace from the highest level in which that concept is taught. If they do not understand that concept, they will miss it every time it is taught. The concept perhaps is found in the 2nd level, the 4th level, the 6th level, and the 8th level. If the student doesn't understand it, he's going to miss it on all 4 levels. Does that mean we give him a gap pace in all 4 levels? No. Since gap paces earn at best elective credit, a supervisor wants to be especially careful on this with high school students. The goal is to strike a balance between ensuring the student learns any missed concept and not unnecessarily overloading a student with gap paces. If the highest pace in which the concept is taught is assigned, and then you see that the student is struggling, then a lower numbered pace in which the concept is taught is prescribed. The point is, if a student is assigned too many gap paces and it takes him a long time to reach his performance level, he may become discouraged and embarrassed. Let's talk about pitfall number 3, not knowing your students. The gifted student, the student with learning limitations, the class clown, the wallflower student, all in one learning center. It's easy to dismiss the importance of knowing your students as either a platitude or a statement of the obvious. The process of coming to know your students is often challenging. Knowing students means more than merely acquiring social or administrative information. Students' names and ages, something about their friendship circles, a bit about family backgrounds, and a few statistics from their academic record. Although this information can be very helpful. To maximize learning, we need to dig deeper than this level of acquaintance. Come to know them well enough to discern between individuality and rebellion, to be effective at motivation and inspiration, be sensitive to youthful attitudes and idealism. Look beyond a student's comments to perceive intent and motive. When we consider the diversity of children that fill our learning centers, it seems foolish to think that we could treat them as a single entity. Every student presents us with a different learning puzzle that we must solve in order to give him or her the best opportunity. We must learn their strengths, their motivators, and their personalities, and then leverage all of them to inspire, mentor, and motivate. Pitfall number 4 is failing to quiz students before giving self-test initials. Before initialing the self-test, quiz the students on activities that they got wrong. Check the student's readiness for the PACE test by quizzing him over important concepts and activities that he missed in the PACE, especially on checkups. Also, quiz him on questions that he did not miss to check for comprehension of concepts. A student who is deemed not ready to take the self-test should be given specific instructions on how to get ready. For example, review the vocabulary, memorize the formula on page 17, or review this list of terms. You may also need to give the student some individual instruction in concepts that they do not understand. If the student is uncomfortable answering questions orally, or if you want to check a student's understanding of computations in math or science, then it's wise to have written practice problems so that they can show their readiness for the self-test. Does going through this process of quizzing the student before the self-test take time? Yes, certainly does. But a part of a supervisor's responsibility is to ensure mastery. Will the students want you to invest that time? Certainly not. They're only interested in handing in the PACE. However, you need to realize, and you need to help the student realize, which takes more time. 5 or 7 minutes of the supervisor quizzing the student before the self-test, or them having to invest 2 to 3 weeks on completing a repeat PACE if they failed the PACE test. Pitfall number 5, allowing a student to take the PACE test the same day that the PACE is turned in. Waiting at least overnight before allowing the student to take the PACE test will put that information that they just learned in that PACE into their long-term memory. I think about the number of times when I was in undergraduate school and I would arrive at class to take a test. The number of people who were in the class with me, sitting in the hall, literally cramming until the very last second with their notes or their textbook, trying to put as much information in their brain as they could before they took the test. Sometimes it's almost as if they needed to stick their fingers in their ears to keep the information in there long enough to get into the classroom and put it on the test. Researchers have long known that sleeping plays an important role in the learning process. While the student sleeps, their brains are busy organizing and consolidating the information and the events that they encountered that day. Important information is filed away, while unimportant things are deleted to make room for more learning the next day. If the learning is only short-term, in other words, if it's learned only for the test, additional learning gaps will be formed in that student's education. Short-term memory holds information in the active parts of the brain for instant use. If those short-term memories are not organized and consolidated overnight by waiting until the next day to be tested, they are lost and will not be remembered. Then, when those concepts are needed later in the child's education, they will have to be learned again because they were only stored in the short-term memory, not the long-term memory.